Welcome to the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the podcast dedicated to commercial food equipment repair industry. My name is Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts Group and a certified Professor Trainer. Our goal is to shine a light on what we believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. We love the work we do, and we are glad you're here listening to this podcast. Today's episode, we have Michael Voss going from chef to field service tech. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Tonight, Rich and I have very special guests on, Mike Voss. Mike started off as a chef and is now a food service repair technician. So we're going to get into that, talk about why he left the culinary world to come to our side, and more. So what's going on, Mike? Thanks for joining us.
Not much, man. What's going on, guys?
Oh,
yeah, it's going.
I think our slow period ended and it's back to busy all of a sudden. And I don't know if I was quite ready for it, but I'm along for the ride anyways.
Nice.
Yeah. That's how we are. Slowed down for about a couple weeks. Now we're getting slammed again. So no more slow weeks.
So Mike is actually in Indianapolis, where I work out of, and he's actually works for one of my competitors. So oddly enough, but I'm not against anybody working for whoever they're working for. There's enough work out there to go around, so it's not going to be a beating up on Mike for working for where he works at.
Oh, yeah. I misunderstood the invitation then.
Oh, no. Poor Rich going to pick on the guy. So, you want to give a brief introduction of, who you are and how long you've been in the industry, and, we can go from there?
Well, I've been in the industry for about 2.5 years. Before this, I was a chef for 20 years. So I was in basically cooking for majority of the time. But I've seen how you guys work in the kitchen. But I've seen also other guys who've done not so good work and bypass safeties and all that fun stuff. So, but I've always kind of been interested in this side of work. I was basically the guy who, hey, boss, go fix this, or hey, go try and go get this to work, or hey, do this to kind of get it going. Like I was one kitchen I was working in, they had a guy come in, basically bypass to turn on the steam table. The only way to turn it on and off was by the breakers from the breaker panel. But the worst part about it was they actually started shorting out and we didn't know about it, so we're all standing on rubber mats. Floor was covered with water, so we're sending pots and pans down the dishwasher, start washing it, and all of a sudden the guy touched the pans and he was standing with water by the dish pit and basically grounded everybody, and we took the full hit off the table because someone was touching the table and we're all standing in the water, so we got the full hit from the electricity and the breaker never tripped off.
Ooh, that's like a game we used to play when we were kids. Man, I grew up in a farm.
Yeah.
We'd wait till someone walked by and we'd grab them and grab the fence because it wouldn't nail you, but it'd light them up every time.
Yeah, but we're all standing in water and stuff, and we didn't know we're all getting electrified until that one guy grabbed that set of pot and pans, and we just took that freaking hit. It was awful. And then another company that we worked at bypassed all the stages on a dish machine. There was a guy actually reaching inside the dish machine while it was running, taking pots and pans out. I was just like, really?
Open the doors, getting sprayed and everything else.
Yeah, I was like, man,
sounds like a good time.
Oh yeah, but then there was other guys who were actually pretty good, and I had other guys. I helped build bars from my ground up, so that was always fun. Cutting holes in the concrete and building boxes, putting boxes together, running the wiring, all that good stuff. So I've kind of done it all and worked in kitchens from everything from fine dining to G8 summits to senior homes.
Nice. Did you just get sick of being in the kitchen on that side of it and wanted to try something new, or just someone talked you in the kitchen one day, or what happened?
Basically, like 2008 was rough. So I missed 6.5 years of my older daughter's life because I was in the kitchen every day from sun up to sundown. And then basically I told my family, I'm like, if this happens again, I'm done. COVID rolled around. I was like, that's it. I'm done. Not doing it all over again. I'm done. It's over. And then decided you know what? I kind of understand how kitchen equipment works. Let's Let me see if like just going HVAC stuff and start going. And local college, like Ivy Tech was the community college I was going to kind of get my EPA stuff. And all of a sudden a job ad I saw for Vanco, and they was like, oh, understand kitchen equipment. I'm like, well, I know how to break the stuff. I know how many donkey kicks to break stuff, the oven doors, and I know the limitations on all the equipment more than most of the techs do. Could be a good fit. I know how to work it all, so let's try it. And they brought me in as kind of like a service assistant, and kind of worked my way up, and now I'm, have one account I basically take care of on a daily basis.
Nice. And how long you been doing it again?
About 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Nice.
Yeah, and it's one of our bigger accounts too, and they run me. I mean, that account, they keep me busy. I mean, I think today I think I did 12, 13 calls today alone, just in that one account. I mean, it gets busy, and it's a rough account. I mean, it's not a rough in like a bad way where it's dirty. It's just they're demanding.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when the tickets come in, it's a wave,
Right.
and then when I'm done, pretty quick. So there's some days where I can get 10, 12 calls a day, and I still got parts hanging on my shelf. For one time, I think this summer, I think I had a total on my board. I think I had 98. I had almost 100 tickets on my board at one time.
From the same place or from multiple places?
From one account. Because they had 25 schools. I had a total of 98 tickets.
That's a huge school system, man, and those buildings are monsters. And like some of those buildings have multiple kitchens, so it's a very rich area, a very money heavy area, and there's some big schools, man.
Yeah, and
like
they run you.
Their elementary schools are broke up into like 3 different buildings. Like they'll have like K through 2 and like 3 through 4, 3 through 5, and then like 6 through 7. It's weird how they do it over there, but it's a
like,
lot.
Yeah, I mean, like the high schools have like 2 kitchens, and then they have a bunch of bunch of intermediate and junior highs, and a whole bunch of elementary schools, and the equipment's not really new. It's an older set of equipment. I mean, I get laughed at by manufacturers like every day, especially like Alto-Shaam, when I call them up about this one piece of equipment, this for part numbers. They're like, well, that's not ours. Like our serial numbers start with numbers. I'm like, no, it starts with RD. It's a research and development one. Just they're like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, it's yours.
That's when you find the guy that has the actual part schematic and be like, can you send that to me so I can quit fighting you guys?
Yeah.
They don't have the thing is they don't have parts. They don't have a part manual for it because it's like 4 different units put together.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah. So they laugh about every time one guy goes, it's the 44th one ever made. I'm like, yeah, thanks, thanks, guys.
Dude, I had a Garland grill that I had to service, and this was only a couple years ago, and it was only the second one they ever produced. It was like a brand new prototype, whatever. That crap was fun. Forget being old and the 44th one. When you call Garland and they're like, oh, there's only one guy that knows anything about the existence of that particular unit, and he's not in today. It's like, oh, great, I'm screwed.
Dude, I had the thing at Garland. So when they came out with the Pearl Grill, Chick-fil-A was doing a beta test on grilled chicken sandwiches. It was something new. And there's a place in Indy that does like they do like blind taste tests. They do all kinds of stuff. It's a weird place. It's just what they do is different kinds of stuff like that. Well, they ship these 3 grills in, and they're like, "Oh, Pat, you go over here and start these Chick-fil-A grills." And I get there, and I'm like, "What is this?" And it didn't even have serial numbers on them. And I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I mean, some of the refrigeration stuff I work with, it's R12 that still has the factory seals still on it. It hasn't even been tapped yet.
I was curious if you did refrigeration too, so that answers that.
Yeah, I do I do hot and cold, so I do both sides. So I can go from like dealing with the combi oven 1 minute, next minute I'm buried in a freezer or cooler. because I think Friday, like I was working in a cotton bee oven, and then I get a phone call from their head maintenance guy saying their freezer's at like 20 degrees. Can you go look at it? And I'm climbing on top of a roof, looking at it, telling them, yeah, go empty out your freezer. Your compressor just blew up. And I'm chasing down a compressor to go change that out that day. So,
Yeah, that's the
I
only
mean,
good thing about schools is generally if they lose a freezer somewhere, they can put that food somewhere else. They may not
yeah,
like it, but they can generally somewhere else without bringing in a refrigerated truck or a frozen truck.
yeah. Or like how fast you can get it up and running. Yeah, let me see what I can do. Let me see what magic I can pull.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Probably some older stuff too.
They have a bunch of K bodies. I mean, they're the big K bodies too.
Wow.
Oh man.
You're like, oh, I
You know,
need a crane to get this compressor on the roof.
well, some of them are inside. Most of
Yeah.
them are inside. There's only a few that are outside, but some of them are inside.
Are they water
And
cooled? Or just air cooled inside.
they're all air cooled.
Okay.
But there's one of them that's going to take 6 of us to get off the rack because they remodeled the building and they put a new air handler in. And the guys with the air handler in did give us access to get it off now. So it's going to take 6 of us to get it off the rack to get it down so we can put the new one up. Because, it's one of those big old K bodies which weigh about, 900 pounds just by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Even the
So we
little
got
one.
little ones are at least a little more manageable, but the new ones are like, this the condensing coil alone so I can put in front end of a truck. I mean, this thing holds like 23 or 24 pounds of 22, and it's already dumped it twice in the last year.
Wow.
A lot of money.
So what are you putting back in there when it dumps all of that? You're dumping
They had
22 back in it, or?
they actually have a stockpile of 22 that because they've been changing out some of their units, so they've been letting me use some of theirs because they're getting ready to replace it anyway. So there's like this use ours. I'm like, okay, whatever, whatever you say, because it's hitting so hard it actually smashed one of the liquid lines and it bent it. I brought it out this last time. I brought it out like a foot from the wall and actually pulled it back in and bent it 45 degrees already. It's
That's
it's
crazy.
it's the original K body too. It's from '94.
So it's got its life. I'd like to see that one tore apart, see what it looks like.
Yeah.
I pulled one this beginning of the school year. It was a red tag Copomatic.
That's an old one. I've only seen like one of those, and it wasn't even in use. It was just like sitting somewhere on a roof or something.
And the only reason why it was pulled is because it sprung a leak. It was still running perfectly fine. It just sprung a leak, and he didn't want to fix it because it was R22 and it was going to cost too much to fix the leak.
Right.
But the compressor was still good.
Yeah. Them old Copelands, man. Those things were beasts. You couldn't kill those things.
I don't know.
No, they took a beating.
No, you can run those things on vapor and they can still run. I mean,
Oh no.
Uh-oh. This is awkward.
He's back.
I think the suction. Go ahead.
I said, no, you're back.
I think the suction pressure at one point was at like I think it was at like 8, and it was still holding the freezer at like 0. The only reason I knew it was because when it go into defrost, it'd bring it up to like 30 degrees.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this a little over 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So how did your guys' training go? Did you just do some ride along, or
I did some ride-alongs. Basically, they had me do PMs for I don't know, like a year. I was at like with one of our accounts, we did PMs like 4 times a year, so I was just doing constant PMs. And I eventually kind of understood how to do it, and then they had me have a mentor, and basically it was just hanging parts.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with how like your guys' some runs. I was on some Sefesa committees with Rusty, and we were trying to set up like a technician development, like a career path thing, and we looked at your guys' stuff quite a bit.
Yeah, and like I mean, I was doing a lot of par hangers and following people around and kind of doing that stuff, and I just kind of I do a lot of like studying and stuff on my own, and just kind of figuring how stuff works and all that stuff. And we're kind of our big thing now is training, getting a little more training. So we're doing like another big push on training for all the guys throughout the company.
Yep, it's that time of year.
Oh yeah,
The bad thing is they should have planned for it, last summer and worked it in, December, January instead of it's March and the weather's getting ready to break and everybody's gonna want to go do stuff.
yeah. I mean, we've been doing it all summer. I mean, all winter and stuff too. Um, we're now like I think by April we're gonna stop. Because by that time it'll be summer again, and there's gonna be no time because you know how once summer hits, all craziness goes out the window because there's no time because everybody's running around. Um, but yeah, I mean, I basically just was. They kind of had me in the shop, kind of being second set of hands, and I was kind of involved in all kinds of stuff, from installs, holding, holding parts in, just holding things up with guys, just kind of doing a little bit of everything. And
Was
then
that for you eventually and you just had to get out on your own, or how'd that work
just they eventually just like, hey, just start, go put this part in, go just start, hanging gaskets was like the first test, and then go put this contactor in. Okay, now go do this. Now, okay, now we're gonna go give you these calls. Okay, now you got this PM, go do this PM yourself, and then it's just kind of trickled into more and more, and it's like, okay, now here's the school system, it's all yours. Now go have fun.
Know nothing, do PMs, and now take our biggest account and don't screw it up.
Basically, make sure we keep it.
But the thing is, like you worked on it yourself. You didn't just rely on them to train you. You sought out and did things on your own. So that there proves that you want this to succeed. You want it, and you're rewarded for it. So they rewarded you for it. I mean, it makes sense.
I was going to point that out too, because I mean, I'm sure you notice, Pat, we talk about it all the time, but if you look at the common denominator with guests that we've had that are killing it, especially ones that haven't been, doing this all that long, they all did the same thing. They said, yeah, I'm working and I'm learning between these hours, but when I get home, I'm going to put in that extra work, that extra studying, that extra research. And everybody that we've seen do that, and it's what's worked for me personally and for Pat as well, that pays off big time. These guys that are just trying to learn, from 8 to 5, they never get ahead.
No, you can be an 8 to 5 guy and make decent money, but if you want to excel and be the best that you can be, you're going to have to do stuff on your own. And I'm not saying, go take night classes. I mean, if that's what you want to do, but I mean, you don't have to do that. There's plenty of opportunities out there. I listen to podcasts, refrigeration podcasts, driving to jobs. I talk to friends that are in this industry if I had questions about stuff. It's all about knowing people and just trying everything you can. It's easy to do. So,
and it's easier now than when me and you started, because I used to take home service manuals and big fat binders and read them, and then now it's like you could throw on a YouTube video and learn while you're doing other stuff.
I mean, some of the refrigeration stuff too, especially Manitowoc ice machine stuff. I've been watching like the refrigeration man. I forgot his name, but I've been watching like some of his videos on how he does his ice machines and stuff. I watch a lot of his stuff to kind of like, oh, that's how you check this, and that's how you do that. I'm like, man, I wish I knew that. Like 3 weeks ago, I was just fighting with this ice machine like for 3 hours, and I'm like, that was it. I'm like, man,
his videos,
yeah,
HDR videos, yeah. Chris Stevens, he's a good friend of mine, man. He's a really good. I've watched this stuff for years, and he's one of the people that kind of like got me into this, wanting to start showing off what we do as far as restaurant size. Now, Annabelle says that was nice that he left the chef life to see his older daughter grow up. Is that your older daughter by chance?
Yep. That's fun. Actually, she's actually interested in it too, because like she picks my brain every day and asks me like what I did that day and what's been going on. So like we there's some stuff like she actually knows how to fix some stuff. It's kind of crazy. She's actually understands how to read wiring schematics.
How old is she?
14.
So in a lot of my stuff, if I say there's a trainee, that's a blonde-headed kid that's about 20 years old, 21 years old, that's my son.
Okay.
They're not let me call him my son at the job, but now it's all right because he's like me. He wanted to earn it on his own. So he didn't want to, ride my coattails per se. But he, you know, he amazes me some days. We went and worked on a dish machine one day, a corner machine. I think it was a Champion, but like it wouldn't turn on. And like he sat down, pulled the panel off, got the schematic, and just started tracing the wires. The schematic. He goes, "Oh, DC power supply's out. We can't do anything until we get it running." I was like, "Okay, I guess order put it in there. I'll see you later." I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's some days like she's like, "Well, did you check this?" No. All right, I guess I'll go check that then. But it's like, because she hears me talking about it, and she's like, "Well, did you go check this? Or did you go do this? Did you do this?" It's like, "Yeah, I did this. No, I didn't do that. Yes, I did this." And it's like, "Oh, okay."
Cool.
And she's even telling me, "Hey, did you go check out? Did you check like Spark out, or did you like other areas of like where for her schools? Like, would you go to Spark, or did you go do this to try and get like her friends involved in this stuff?" I'm like, okay, and I because she likes it too. So I mean, I'm like,
That's
hey,
awesome.
go ahead. I'm not stopping you.
You can make a lot of money doing this, man. It's about the effort you put in, and we say it over and over again, but a little effort goes a long ways in this industry.
I mean, it's not just that. I mean, it doesn't take much. I mean, like when I was waiting for you guys to come on, I'm reading through a wiring schematic because like with that one dish machine I've been fighting with the last couple of days, it's just we're we're just having issues with it because one of the solenoids will stay open. It's not closing. And then I pulled out one of the relays and it actually runs with that solenoid open. I'm like, okay, I did this. Okay, now that's why. Because it's like I tricked the board enough to where it thinks it's a complete circuit without that relay in there. So, okay, now I got to figure out why it's doing it and where I'm losing power and all that stuff. So, I'm sitting here waiting. I'm just kind of reading a wiring schematic, which is kind of sad, but it's just more learning at the same time.
Yeah, sounds like you had some pretty decent training coming in, man. When I started, it was 18 years ago, and I got about 2.5 weeks, and they said, "Hey, he'll figure it out. Kick him out."
I mean, that's a lot. I mean, the sad thing is that's a lot of it how it was. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
a lot of the training, like if I have questions, a lot of it is like I'll call. I mean, I don't know if you know Steve Finney.
yeah, I know Steve.
Like I'll call him and ask him a question. I'm like, hey, I did this and this and this. Where do I go from here? And he'll basically guide me over the phone.
So does
And
does he do it the way? So how I do that when people call me is I don't tell them the answer. I give them questions like, check this,
yeah,
check this, check
yeah,
this. Like they never call me back. I'm like, you figured it out, and then they won't tell you that your questions did it, but they learn that way,
that's
and
basically how it is.
they did it themselves instead of me just telling them the answer. Because if I tell them the answer, they're gonna call me every time for the answer, and I ain't got time for that.
That's basically how
Mhm.
it is. Like he'll ask me, okay, I'll basically tell him everything I did, my list of everything I checked to the point where I get stuck. And then he goes, okay, did you go check from this point to this point? And I'll send him a picture of the wiring schematic just so he knows where I'm tracing it out to. And then he's like, okay, did you check from here to here? He goes like, no, check from here to here. Okay, you lost it from here to here. Now, why'd you lose it from here to here? Now, figure it out. But I'll tell him everything from where I went.
That's the way to do it, though. I mean,
And
Yeah,
that's how basically
100%.
that's basically how I've taught myself a lot of stuff, and then it's kind of done from there.
Yeah, like I said, I used to do tech support. I did it for a little bit for a small ice machine company, and like the amount of techs that would call and they didn't even check anything. And it's like, you got power? I don't know. Like, did you check the outlet? No. Check the outlet. Oh, I don't got no power. Go check the breaker then. But like, dude, when I started, I would read the manual and check everything that the manual told me to check before I called tech support. And like I remember Hoshizaki would be like, "Oh yeah, you sound like you know what you're doing, man. You just missed one step." And I'm thinking, I don't know crap, bro. I just followed the manual. But then when I would call up, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, you always check everything. You're good. Yeah, yeah, we'll help you out."
Yeah, I mean sometimes like there was one day I was working on one of the Fry Masters, and it was one of those moments where I completely went brain locked and I forgot how they worked. And I called tech support. I'm like, okay, I did this to this. And I go, it's the board, right? They're like, no, man, it's it's the flame sensors. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Sorry.
Yep.
Then you can't feel kind of stupid. It's like, really?
It happens
But
every day. You get humbled. I mean,
Oh yeah.
problem is once you get so much experience, like you skip the easy stuff, and that's a bad trap to get into, man.
But it, I don't work on very many fryers either because I'm usually in school buildings all day. So like, seeing a fryer is like a luxury for me. I mean, I don't see very many of them. That's the other thing.
Yeah, there's
Is
not very many fryers in the school. If you see a school of a fryer, it's a rarity around here, man.
it's usually like a Catholic school is the only place you see a fryer.
And they still use the crap out of them, man. It's funny.
And
Everyone else uses the combi and just air fries everything pretty much.
what's the combis you've usually been seeing lately?
I do everything because we're a warranty rep about everybody. So I do Rationale, Combotherm, Autosham, Ox, Electrolux. Dude,
Oh yeah.
we do so much warranty work. It's everything under the sun, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, same thing with us. I mean, the big one, like the school system's starting to get into because they have everything from Commotherm, the old Lodges, the COS
Yep.
101s. They're now starting to buy the Henny Penny combis.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't seen some pictures.
Yeah, I haven't seen any Henny Pennies.
They're actually pretty sweet looking. A lot of them like it because it has the air fry option.
Wonder who's making it for them because Henny Penny's not making it.
Didn't Rationale used to make Henny Pennies
Years ago? Yep. When I first started, you go to there's a grocery store chain called Meijer, and it said Henny Penny on it, and it was really an SCC 201.
It looks very familiar. It looks really close to like one of the combi therms.
Yeah,
it looks really close to it.
They've worked with several companies along the way. So, I mean, I don't know. I haven't done Henny Penny forever, so they may be making them. But last I knew, they didn't make them. I mean, they just buy someone else's and have them, put a different panel on there. But because when I went to Rationale School, I was like, "Oh, I've worked on these before." They're like, "Where?" And I was like, "A Henny Penny," and they're like, "Don't say that name."
Was that after Henny Penny dumped them?
Yeah, that way. Jeez, yeah.
The wonderful Henny Penny fryer. Much fun.
That's where I learned.
I love Henny Penny.
When you're pulling the blower wheel on a Rationale, don't stick your head in the cavity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. Like I was at a Meijer. It was a 201G. It was the bottom one, dude. I couldn't get it off. I finally got a puller on there. Had that bolt bent sideways, and I called a guy. He's like, "Put a little heat on there." He's like, "Leave your puller on and put a little heat in there." But he didn't say don't have your head in there. So I was like sitting inside it, put heat on there. And it was the loudest one I've ever seen. Bam, dude, it let go. And dude, I about pooped my pants, man. So now every time I get a new guy and we're pulling a blower wheel on a Rationale, dude, I'm videoing it. I'm like, never anything spectacular. And then when, I'm not recording it, it's always the good ones. And they always freak out. I'm like, man.
Yeah, I actually was with one of our new guys and we were changing an element on a dish machine, and I told him to go make sure you put the wires just right and don't cross them when you put the contactor in. Well, he wasn't paying attention. He crossed the wires. He created a dead short on a 480 dish machine. Created a dead short. Blew a 120 amp breaker. Yeah, he pooped himself.
Dude, it was a boiler base steamer, 480 volts at a hotel in Indy on the east side. I won't say which one. Someone else diagnosed it, and I went back and hung the parts, and I turned it on. It dry fired, and when it blew the breaker, it blew the fuses in the building. It shut down like half of the entire hotel. It's a big hotel. Like I was like, it came on and it went boom, and I freaked out. And like the lights all dimmed and shut off, and the hood started slowing down, and the kitchen guy just looked at me, and I was like, you might want to find maintenance real fast. Or no, it was like these big, like 2,000 amp fuses or something. And they said those fuses were like $400 some a piece, and they had to change 3 of them. I was like, I'll see you guys later.
That's scary.
No, dude. I do not. Those 480 volt boiler based steamers, the Market Forges, the electric ones, do those scare the living Jesus out of me, man. Because I've had a couple of them blow, and it's just, dude. I turn them. Like I close the panels and I like walk away, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the 480 still scares the crap out of me.
Mm-hmm. It
I mean,
jumps, man. It can do some wild stuff.
You
I
see, I
was
don't run
already,
into a whole lot of 480.
You're
I
lucky.
had, yeah, I
Rural
was
areas,
in,
industrial areas.
I was actually in one of the dish machines at one of the schools checking across the contactor because it wasn't pulling in after I replaced it. It was actually in the dish machine, was actually one of the flight machines checking across the contactor to make sure there's voltage going in. As I went in there and checked across it, pulled in, the element blew as I pulled in. It scared all I seen was a white flash, and that was it.
Yeah, you get gunshot real
And bang.
blowing up 480, man.
And every time I hear a contactor click or pop when I'm in one of those panels, I get real skittish. Everybody's like, "Why you keep on checking their contactors? Why you keep on checking power?" I'm like, "It just because it I get it gets a little scary." You haven't had that experience.
So, do you miss the culinary side of it at all?
There's some days I miss it, but I still, I'll cook at home. I'll do some cooking every once in a while. I mean, I was just in a chili competition with our church and stuff. Um, but and then I'll hear the horror stories. Some of my friends who are still in it, they're like, "Man, I just worked, 100 and some hours and haven't had a day off, and I'm so short-handed." I'm like, yeah, they're telling me to go on vacation. They're telling me like to go home and relax because I'm working too much. They go, it's kind of nice.
I, I am fascinated by like 5-star restaurants or like hotels where they plate stuff and make it like art. So I was working at a hotel in downtown Indy, and I was the oven was heating up, and I was just hanging out waiting. Or I think I was in a clean cycle, so I was just like hanging out waiting to make sure it completed, And the guy was plating up this food, and I was just like just staring at him. He's like, "Are you hungry or something?" I was like, "No, dude, that's art." I was like, "I'm actually intrigued by like how you make that look like that." I was like, it's a mad props to you, respect to you, man, because that's cool. And but yeah, I love to watch people. I love to watch people work, like how they do things. I like to know how things work, and if I see someone doing something, I want to see, learn. And but yeah, some of those chefs, man, the plates they make is like it's pure art. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I did a lot of catering. Like my last spot, I was exec sous at IUPOI.
Okay.
So I did majority of their catering. So I was there. I think I was doing any parties from anywhere from 10 to 30,000 approximately, and I was doing all the hot food by myself. So I'd have anywhere from like 45 parties a day, 50 parties a day. And it just beats you up. I mean, just mentally and physically, it just beats the living crap out of you.
Yeah,
Um,
I can see it. I mean,
I
they're like
mean,
you guys. They're understaffed too, and so the chefs are having to work extra. The sous chefs are having to work extra. It's a vicious circle everywhere.
I mean,
Yeah, that's rough work. I would never want to do that work. I've always said I mean, I work hard and I could work harder than most people, but I'm like, you restaurant kitchen hard. No, put me on a 100-degree roof for 10 hours and I'll take that over half a day in a restaurant kitchen.
I mean, just the amount of mental stress you go through. I mean, I don't know, I think I've had one time, I think I was having panic attacks just going into work. Just like, and then going home from work having panic attacks. So, okay, did I do this? Did I do this? Did I forget a party? Did I order the right amount of food? Did I get everything done? It's just like you can't live like that, and and sometimes it actually rolls over to me doing this. Like I'm always trying to be perfect because everything has to be like when you're in the culinary field, like there's always someone behind you to take your job. So like if you screw up, the owner's always like, yeah, there's the door. I got someone right behind you who's just waiting. So like you can't screw up. Like
Yeah.
it took me a while to kind of get out of that. It's still hard for me to get out of that habit.
Yeah, because that ain't happening here. Ain't nobody in line behind any of us.
I mean, my wife even yells at me about it. She's like, quit, quit fascinating, quit, let it go. You don't have to focus on it like of a problem. Like you have to just let it go because there's not somebody there. Because in the restaurants, like you can screw up and then they're like, yeah, you're done for your shift. Get out of here. There's got like 8 guys behind you. There's behind you to take your spot.
I'm gonna ask a Jason type question here since he's not here tonight. So like being that you're from that side, are you more sympathetic for the customer as like if they're having issues, you understand what they're going through, so you can handle that, or you can work a little bit differently, or you interact a little bit differently, knowing what they're going through?
I try to adapt. I try and get them to go as much as possible. I'll try my best to get them going and understand. I'll try and work around them as much as possible. Um, like I was on call like 5 weeks ago because I'm just on call now. The last time I was on call, there was a place that was having issues with their flat top, and it was just not working right. And I'm like, hey, I'll go in first thing in the morning. He's like, but there's nobody going to be here. I'm like, if you can leave me the key, whatever it is, just leave
Could
it
be
out.
something.
I'll go in first thing in the morning before you guys get there, and I'll work on it until you guys tell me to get off the line.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, fine, just do whatever they did, and they kind of let me go in and work on the flat top to try and get it going for that day.
So do you think you're like that because of your experience, or is that just who you are as a person?
I'm a both. I understand. I mean, I understand how sometimes you just need a piece of equipment to work on the line, but a lot of times the chef has to adapt too. And most chefs understand to adapt, and then there's some guys who just don't understand it either. But I'm also a guy who will try to make the customer happy as possible, because that's just from the restaurant experience too. Because one bad comment can be 1,000 bad comments, and one good comment can be 10 good comments. And it can bring in more business at the same time.
Yep.
It
100%.
helps out because yeah, there's one guy I ran into who actually worked with an old chef I used to work with. So it's like, hey, that could be another set of business from another company. Hey, this guy, he helped me out. He came in, he spent more time working on our stuff to get it going. Yeah, here's his name, here's his company he works for. Call him out. He might actually be able to help you out a little bit more.
We said
It,
time and time again, treat everybody in the kitchen with respect. The dishwasher, the line cooks, the fry cook, the prep cook, because you never know. They may be a chef one day. They may own a restaurant, and they may remember that you were nice to them. You treated them with respect, kindness. You helped them out of the problem, and they may come back to help you out a lot in the future.
And
yeah,
even if they're not, it's just the right thing to do.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I
oh,
mean?
oh yeah, like when I used to run the kitchens, the first person I used to always say like hi to a lot. Everybody always thought it was weird. I used to always say hi to my dishwasher. Everybody's like, why? I'm like, if he's not here,
You screwed.
who's doing your dishes? They're like,
Yep.
well, I'm not doing dishes. I'm like, well, yeah, you are, because if he's not here, we're all doing dishes. So you make him happy, everybody's happy. And usually, like if I go, let's say a dish machine's down at a restaurant, the first person I'm asking about the dish machine is the dishwasher. I'm usually not asking the manager because the manager doesn't know what's going on with the dishwasher. That
Hmm.
dishwasher knows everything that goes on with that dishwasher because they want to make sure that thing is running perfect.
I check in with the managers. They know I'm there, and then I go, "Hey, who runs the dishwasher? Come on."
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
usually they'll hand you your tools. They'll make sure.
They'll throw a cardboard down for you.
Yep.
They want that thing fixed, man.
They will do anything for you to make sure that dishwasher is running
Because they
Hmm.
because
rebate seek.
yeah.
I would say dishwasher is the only piece of equipment that you never hear the staff say, no, it's okay, leave it broke. They'll do that with a fryer, they do that with a grill, be like, if it's broke, I don't have to work anymore, do extra work. Now, if the dishwasher's down, then everybody wants that thing fixed.
Yeah, until it's the pump. It's like, dude, man, I can't fix it now. The pump's bad. And it's like, well, how fast can you get it? I don't know.
We've been getting a ton of dishwasher work, man, and I used to love it. I used to have a lot of old Hobarts. Like when I first started 18 years ago, the school system my kids went to school with, they had an old Hobart that had manual fill valves, and it had like a little trap and then a cutout, in the trap, and you turn it on, you can see the water going down through there.
Yeah.
It was the wildest thing, dude. And I love that because every year in the summer before school start, I'd go in there, replace the seals, pump seals, put it back together, and it'd work perfect all school year. No problems whatsoever.
The oldest piece of equipment I have actually worked with was an old Middleby carousel oven where you actually had to open the door, walk in there, light the pilot, to light the burners.
Dang.
Have you ever seen one of the old round dishwashers? It took so it was a round dishwasher. It was a circle,
No.
and the rack was circle, and you had the whole thing opened up, and you slid it in there. Like I've seen one at a really old place, man. It was the wildest thing I ever seen in my life.
Actually, I think.
Yeah, I never seen that.
No. Actually, yes. Maybe. I have a picture of the old kitchen I used to work in. The old kitchen I used to work in at the seminary I used to work in was 100 years old when I was there, and they have the picture of the original kitchen. And the original kitchen actually had cork floors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and never had air conditioning either. So, when you guys were talking hot being on a roof, when you can make it inside of a kitchen rain in the middle of the summer, yeah, that's hot.
Jackson actually makes one, a round one.
Jackson
They
does?
do?
Yeah, it's 10A or 10U. I had to Google it, man. I knew it wasn't crazy.
I don't work on very many Jacksons.
Yeah.
We work on a lot of, for some reason, it's a lot of Champion, Hobarts, and freaking Lycos.
Yeah, that's what our area's gone to, is a lot of Champion and Hobarts. Jackson's hit or miss.
And then you get the sporadic Lycos. I don't know if you work on any of those.
No, I haven't had the pleasure of working on any of those.
Michael's, I've worked on like 2 or 3.
Yeah, you guys are lucky.
Their tech support is really good, though.
I heard the training was really good too. We don't work on it, so I'm not gonna get training on it. That's the way it goes.
They're good. It's just they're junk. I'll put it that way.
Are they really?
You have to have special racks for them. You just can't buy normal like your Hobart racks. You have to have special racks for them. So what they do is like the guys will like shove the racks through them, and the dog ears won't grab the racks, and then the racks won't go through the dish machine. They're.
So Michael's the one like the whole front is one big door, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it'd be like a 66, and it's one big giant door all the way across the front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or they have like a conveyor style, but they have to have special kind of racks to go through them.
Oh, what a nightmare! What a nightmare!
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed coming into this side of the industry. I mean, it's helped me out. I mean, being able to.
Did you think? Did you think you'd end up doing this, or it just happened? I mean, how did it present itself? How did it actually happen?
Well, my wife kind of pushed me. She's like, "Well, you always liked working on this stuff. You've always been good at like fixing this stuff. Why don't you just go to school and be like an HVAC tech?" I'm like, okay. And then like I was looking through the job board at like Ivy Tech, and they said Vanco, like understand kitchen equipment. I'm like, well, I know kitchen equipment. I've been in the restaurant industry for 20 years. I know how to break it. I know the limitations of it all. So let me see if I can get a job here. They're looking for like a service assistant, like a tech assistant. I'm like, let's just start there. Had a meeting with Rusty and all them. And they're like, yeah, you're about that. You're green. I'm like, okay, well, bring me on. Let me see what I can show you. And it's been kind of a good fit ever since, just kind of push myself forward.
That's
and
cool.
Still trying to push myself more. I'm trying to get into that whole RO, understand that whole RO system, and really studying that stuff because that's a whole new like adventure to get into. Seems like that's a new alley to get into because for Indiana, how crappy our water is.
People are amazed how hard our water is. I mean, it's terrible, dude.
I mean, coming from Chicago, man, we have good water up there.
I'm amazed Indiana's like water is as bad as it is. I mean, didn't you say Florida? We lost you. He shut it off for a second. Our water is insane though. If you have a boilerless combi here and you don't have, even filters don't catch it. If you don't have it on RO, your glass is ruined. You're not seeing through the glass after 3 or 4 months.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
destroy stuff.
I
I've been
mean,
tomorrow worker lately for some projects we're on. Nothing major, just filter changes, make sure they're set up, getting some water samples, sending it off and stuff. So it's not too bad. It's just different. I've installed some RO systems from some copy places we've done work for in the past. I mean, it's not bad. It's just some of the stuff. I mean, but I'm doing pre-made systems. I'm not doing designing systems and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, I've kind of studied it and how to do the whole sizing of them, and that kind of thing. So, like I said, like I do a lot of studying like outside of outside of work and all that stuff, just trying to figure out how they all work and just make yourself better. That's the best way to do it, because
I know
it's
that school system you work at has alto shams, and they have a couple alto shams somewhere, don't they?
they have one building has four. I mean, they have all kinds of they have alto shams, they have
Did they use
Computherms.
for the alto shams? Are they on RO?
No, they had. Let me put it this way. One of the water companies, I not really want to say, doesn't know how to do sizing of RO systems and put the wrong RO system sizing for the school and blew them up.
So some of the schools I work in, they think the answer to that is just to buy a bigger holding tank. Like,
Oh no,
no, that's not how it works, guys.
yeah, yeah. He put a 350 gallon one and he needed 650 gallons, and he blew them up. He was wondering why he was blowing them up so fast. I'm like, yeah, that's why. But no,
So
they have a ton of alto shams.
yeah, that's what I thought. 'Cause I've done a bunch of startups over there in the last. It's probably been right before COVID. Probably I did a bunch of startups over there. So we're warranty rep for a lot of companies, and so we do a lot of startups and installs and
Yeah,
stuff.
I think I have one of them I have to get over there and I have to replace a transformer for because the transformer blew up on one of them. But the where it's set up, it's impossible to get to. You have to get a pallet jack to move them out because they're double stacks because they're right next to each other.
Yeah, dude. I note that every time I see it on a startup, I'm like, take pictures because like they want pictures of their installs. You know, I send it to them. They're like, well, what are you gonna do if you have to work on that? I was like, I don't know. I was like, it's not even on wheels. I said, and they didn't put the drain runs behind a bunch of other stuff. What am I gonna do? And they're like, figure it out. I'm like, well, who's gonna pay for this? Well, we're not. Like,
Yeah, I went to a training at Cefespa and the Alto Sham was there. They're like, well, what do you see the problem with? I go, the installs. They're like, what do you mean? I go, whoever does the installs doesn't put like the water connections in right. They're like, what do you mean? I go, they put the press fittings on the water connections, and when the solenoids go bad, you have to cut them out, and it takes like 3 hours to do it because you put them against the wall. Then you have to move the whole thing out, and it takes like twice as long to do it because they jack it all up. I go, where's like, don't you guys have an install kit that you can include in the setup?
oh, they do. The problem is the dealers will install them, and
Yeah.
the dealers are the ones that muddy the water. So like
Oh
most
yeah.
manufacturers have a certified install kit, and like they
Oh yeah.
want the service companies to install them.
I'm back.
The dealers will install them or have a plumber, do it, and it's not right. It's never right, dude.
Oh yeah.
It's at the wall.
Oh yeah, and like that's what we were bringing up to him. We're like, dude, like the dealers, like I go, if the dealers don't do it right, like call it out to them, like do something, like make sure like they're the ones who are screw it up when we have to like do the startups on them because it's like, and we have to come out and fix them. It's like it takes us forever to fix it because of what the dealers are doing wrong, and they're like, well, we don't know. I'm like,
Oh, they
you
know
guys,
pictures. They know.
yeah,
They're just plausible deniability.
I know. It's like, come on, guys. It's like, do you guys understand? Like, well, it should only take you this long. I go, yeah, when they're using this.
Yeah, that's the line that always kills me. Oh, it should only take this long. Yeah, in a perfect environment, you can get the everything. The disconnect's right there. Yeah, it should only take that long. But how many times do we see that? Never.
Oh yeah, especially when the dealers don't install the disconnects right.
So they're wanting to know where you went there, Rich.
Huh?
Your fans where you went. There's all kinds of comments flying in there.
Oh yeah, I'm responding.
That's funny. Yeah, there's a school system out east. It's not a big school system, but it's a football powerhouse, and they put in 8 combi ovens, double stacked, no wheels, and there's 2 inches between each one. And they're like, they sent me out there to do startup, and I was like, no. And the disconnects behind the unit. They get the unit shoved so far back because they use a shallow hood that you can't shut it off because the disconnect hits the back of the oven. I'm like, how did you guys do this? I'm like, did you have like someone's 10-year-old daughter plumb these in or what? I was like mind boggled. I made a post about it and tagged the manufacturer, and I caught some flack because I did it. And I'm like, what can I do though? I mean, like,
You're not the one that installed it. Why are they tripping?
Because it's that manufacturer's always tripping on me.
Oh, it's your secret admirer.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, but we do. I mean, the other big thing we do is we do a lot of Middleby installs too. So we have to deal with. That's our big install. I don't know if you guys deal with any of those.
No. We've installed some Lincolns just in the past pizza ovens, but I haven't done any Middleby. I used to work on a bunch of Middleby. When I first started, I had my area had like 8 Pizza Huts owned by one guy, and we serviced all their stuff, man. And I cut my teeth on like Lincoln 1000s. They sandwiched together and like just spliced a wire together. It's so like there was no wiring diagram or nothing. And I was just like, figure it out, dude. And I got good at this thing, and like they got rid of that oven and got something new. It was all fancy digital controls. And I was like, what's this crap?
Yeah,
Bring man.
We work on a bunch of Middleby, so I understand how those work. So those are big pizza ovens what we work on.
But yeah, I've installed some XLTs. Those are always fun.
Poor Leo. He said, God, this is giving me no hope for tomorrow's install.
What install you got tomorrow, Leo?
Yeah, what are you installing, Leo? Now you got to tell us. Well, we're waiting on him. What would be some advice you'd give to somebody that wants to take the jump from one side of the kitchen to the other? I mean, anything you would tell someone that's interested in it? Any tips?
Don't be afraid. Like, I'd say do it. If you think you want to go do it, do it. I mean, if you understand, the biggest advantage for someone who is going for the kitchen to go be a service tech for the kitchen is you understand how the equipment works.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, the only problem, the hardest part is understanding the insides. If you understand how the equipment works, it's the easiest part. Because some of the guys I work with, some of the guys who are newer, don't understand how the equipment works. So they're like trying to figure out how the equipment works and the insides, how that works. Well, I understand how the equipment works.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the big, easy step for me. Because, I mean, I understand the sequence of operations. I understand how the basic functions are. I understand how the equipment, I've actually used the equipment. Except for some of this newer stuff that's coming out. But I've used, almost everything that's out there. So I already know how it works, what it's supposed to do, the functions, what it sounds like when it's working right, what it sounds like when it's working wrong, the issues most equipment has, all the little like the main function all the equipment has, like what Rationale has, all that stuff. Nice. Rationale has a problem with their door handles. When you slam them too hard, they never stay closed and they break and all that stuff. And chefs don't understand that you have to be nice to them.
Their vocabulary. But I like it when someone changes the gasket and they don't adjust the door, and they're just over there, bam, bam. My God, you gotta adjust that door for them, man. You can't just throw a gasket on there and bolt, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I know how many donkey kicks it takes to break a door.
That's funny. All right, we're coming up with an hour, man. It's been a blast talking to you. I always ask people if they want to get off to social media. I think you're only on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
If you give that out, people can find you on there and they can interact with you on there. And we do have a pretty good following on LinkedIn. That was like the last social media thing I did, and like it's like one of my better ones. It's professional people. Occasionally you run into some D bags, but most of the time everyone's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that's my biggest thing is I'm always on LinkedIn. That's majority of where I have both my, service guys and most of my chef guys are mostly on LinkedIn. I kind of keep in contact with both those guys and see what they're up to in the professional world of cooking.
Sweet. Well, I won't keep you any longer. I just want to thank you for coming on and talking about, coming from the chef to the other side of the table. You had a lot of good points, and I like your story. I like that you're never satisfied. You're always learning. So that means you're going to go places, and you're going to do big things. So keep that up, man.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, everybody. I will see you guys later. If you guys would, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. It really helps us grow and helps us know which direction to move in. Also, if you have any suggestions for guests, please email me at commercialkitchenchronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to be a guest, email me. Love to have you guys on. Thanks a lot. See you next week.